So to convert this to a digital asset, I'm gonna select everything except these two inputs. Okay, all this is gonna be, we're gonna pack this up. It'll go over the calculation again, so bear with me. Once that's done, we can convert this to digital asset. Let me just actually disconnect these for a moment, and I'll call this LiDAR processing, something like that. Create digital asset. I'm going to save it only on this particular project. So hip file, HTA folder, I'm going to save it here. So the file can be, for now, something like this. I'll call the operator name LiDAR processing, and the operator label is going to be processing. Here on the name, if you want to version it, remember you need to use this structure. Press accept. This pops up, and we're going to go over some of these options. So the minimum inputs is going to be 2, and the maximum inputs 2. Let's say actually the minimum can be 1, the maximum 2, and the maximum output is going to be 2. So we want to have the option of just inputting the ground points in situations where we don't have two sets of points, and the maximum outputs are going to be 2. So in case we do have two sets of points being inputted, we want them to be outputted as well as two separate points. Here on the context, I'm going to leave this at the default. So this is just where it's going to appear. So we have digital assets here. I'm going to keep the default. And that's basically it. So for now, I'm just going to go over to parameters and keep this open. And we'll expose a couple of parameters here from the nodes. I'm also gonna go in. We just created the digital asset, so it's still open. We can dive in. We have here the two inputs. It's giving us an error because we don't have anything being inputted, so that's to be expected. And we'll create two output nodes. It's going to be output 0, and this is going to be called, now we can for now leave it here, but output 0 ground PTs. And I'll just copy this, make sure that the second one has an index of 1, and it's going to be vegetation points. Okay, so we have this and this. What else? Now we'll create on this structure, we'll have a couple of toggles on the digital asset that will give us the option of activating or deactivating certain parts of the process. For instance, like the option of reducing the point count. Here, it's going to be useful to have this option here. So whenever we want to create something like that, where we have the option of going through a certain node or not going through a certain node, it's always through the use of a switch. So I'll create a switch where the first option is going to be not going through the process, this delete node in this case, and the other option, input 1, is going to be going through the node. So we'll use the same here. Now these need to be switched. You can use Shift R to switch the inputs. And now we can expose or control these switch inputs. The switch input, select the input of the switch based on a parameter that we create here. So those parameters, I think the easiest way would be to have this as a toggle. I'll create another one. So this one is going to be reduce points ground, something like that. And here, reduce points vegetation. Now, once we have this, we can set the default behavior here on the channels, and the default is going to be 0 for these two. We can apply these changes. Now, if we go out here on our to our digital asset, we'll see we have those two options available. And what I'm going to do is to make this easier to set up, try to make room here. What I'm going to do is right click and go to parameters and keep this available, something like this. Yeah. And now we go here and we can do a right click, copy parameter, and here on the switch, we can just base relative reference. And now they're referencing one another. Here, the same thing, copy parameter on the reduce points vegetation, and here on the switch, do the same thing, base relative references. Now they are connected, meaning that if we turn this on or off, we will be reducing the point count. Let me disable a couple of nodes here, so to make things faster. So I'll disable these, not this one. Okay, and let's test this out. We'll just connect the points here, and we should be seeing the output there. So this is output 0, which is the ground point. Now, if we turn on this option, reduce points option, let me actually set this aside. I'll just hit accept. And if we reduce the points, we should see the points being reduced. Okay, if we activate that option, we'll see that. We can also create a couple of nulls here, so we can have a look not just at the output 0, but also at the other output, which is the vegetation points. And we'll have the same option. So we can reduce the vegetation points just by activating that option. Now, it would also be nice for us to, whenever we activate this option, to have access to these parameters so that we can actually control the amount of points that we're going to be, how much are we going to be reducing those points. Let's keep adjusting, keep building our HDA. So we'll right click, go to type properties, and here after the ground points, we can just grab this parameter and put it right here. We can do the same thing for the vegetation, where we just click, drag, and drop it right here. Now, this will be connected as soon as we hit apply or accept. And so I'll hit apply. And right now, you'll see they are connected. What's going to happen is, what would be interesting is for these options to only be visible whenever this one is active. Okay. And that's very, very practical thing to have. So, and it's pretty easy. You can use this line here to set a code. So let's hide these parameters. Right now they're available every time, even if this is not active, they're going to be available. And it would make sense for these options only to be visible if this is active. The way we do that is by coming here to the hide when curly brackets, and we'll grab this one, Control C, the name of that parameter, hide when that parameter is equal to 0. Apply, and as you can see, now it's going to be hidden whenever this is 0, and if I activate it, it's going to be visible. So pretty neat trick and pretty easy to apply. I'm gonna copy this, or actually let's just copy it from here, and here we can do the same thing. So curly brackets, Control V, 0. So whenever this parameter is equal to 0, I want you to hide this parameter. Apply, and now we have both working. Accept. Now let's have a look at the ground points, which is faster. Looking at the ground points, I can activate the reduction system, and I can, let's say I'm going to reduce a lot. Let's say I want to reduce 4 out of 5. So this is me reducing 4 out of 5.